This may sound counterintuitive, but one thing people have to understand is there are a lot of so-called fake gurus out there that most likely don't know what the heck they're talking and preaching. They're telling you to fight your ego or, to break your ego, crush your ego, and they're talking to you about this ego as if they are some kind of all-knowing gods that know actually what this ego is. Well, to a lot of people it might sound counterintuitive, but I would advise, out of the wisdom I have acquired, to simply do the opposite in a way. Because a lot of gophers will tell you what to do, but they don't have any idea how life functions, and if you're sensitive enough and look them in the eyes, you will see that they are typically very miserable. Some people might ask themselves, but how do I figure out if someone is miserable or not? Well, see, most people who are miserable, they can't hide this, and people who are defensive and miserable, they usually speak a lot. They speak super fast, like those people who come to your door and, they want to sell their products desperately. They're gonna talk and talk and talk, and they're not gonna allow you to say anything so that they don't allow you the time to do something. Someone who wants to manipulate you, they will talk slowly. They will mimicry confidence, and it's still observable to a certain extent in their eyes that they are desperate, but they will learn how to conceal things and how to pose themselves as wise or things like that by talking slow. This kind of people is usually harder to observe, but depending on someone's intuition and how patient you are in life, well, the less noisy your mind is, the easier it is to hear your intuition, your inner voices and guidance. See, when it comes to this ego, if you want to understand the ego, how I would portray people this so-called ego is more than a child. Some people would say this ego is an invented friend, an imaginary friend. No, it's not that. It should be to you holier than a child. Ask yourself one thing. When is it the last time that sick people and this sick society have actually told you a truth? A truth, not the truth. So, how many people have you met that actually know how their inner world functions, right? They're all chasing outside things, but how many of those actually have the courage to look inside, beyond the illusions and misery and whatever stupid opinions they have gathered from others about themselves? See, when you give birth to a child is born out of a part of your energy. They inherit your karmic structure, obviously, and it will have a certain influence on the piece of life that inhabits that physical body which your child will be represented by, or which your child will experience the world through. But your child will not be you. They may be your child, but you don't own them. You just gave them birth and allowed them to experience this world. So they are part of your energy, but they are not your energy. So what you call as your ego is nothing else but a remembrance of all the thoughts you have been accepting from others, all the thoughts that you have also been thinking about yourself, and you have been nurturing those, right? They are your own energy. So in a way, they are closer to you than any child. A child will always be an external being, will be someone separate from you. But those, what you call ego, are just your thoughts, your own energies, and ideas and energies, opinions, emotions, thoughts that you also most likely took from others in the first place, and you nurtured again and again, convinced that they are your reality. So the more you nurtured them, you basically coated them in more and more layers of your own existence, of your own energy, therefore being in a way holier than a child, right? In a way, because while it can obviously be hard for any parent to give up their child, right? I'm not saying that anyone should, but it is very hard to give up your child because they are your own energy. It is also much harder, or almost impossible, it is basically impossible to give up your ego, because this so-called construct called the ego is fully part of you, right? The child is a separate part of you. Something bad happens in the world, you can get separated from your child, but you can never get separated from the so-called ego. Now, when it comes to this idea, there's been all sorts of these pseudo-scientific cults that promote the idea that, the ego is some kind of demon or whatever hellspawn or whatever thing that is hideous about you. See, all the idiots in the world will say that something they can't understand is definitely something demonic that they have to rid themselves of. Look at all the people who try to beat their ego. What they do is they accomplish nothing. See, let's take some examples in life. See, some of these pseudoscientists, they tell you that every time you should do something new in order to pull yourself out of your comfort zone. Well, that is a correct option. Because when you do something new, well, the problem with doing something new is you will, if you don't have a certain awareness, or if you're doing it compulsively, that something new will give you the illusion of progress. Why I say illusion? See, a lot of people simply misunderstand progress. Progress is not only something that you physically do. Yes, you learn a new skill, but the question is, are you doing that in a conscious way? Are you doing it compulsively to simply try to escape some of your pains, wounds, abandonment issues, and the such? Because if you're doing it unconsciously, it's only a mental progress. It is not an internal progress. You will have the idea that you're doing something new, you're doing something great. Well, maybe you're doing great, but unfortunately your subconscious will remain the same. You will have the same pains, you will have the same issues, and you will start 20 different things. Sooner or later you will give up on those because your subconscious mind hasn't been nurtured. You only have nurtured your mind because it is the easiest to nurture. The mind is very vibrant and fast, and you give it 20 ideas, you distract yourself enough. You can't control your emotions because when your emotions settle in, well, they take days, weeks, months, maybe till they move away. If you get what I call a mental depression, well, don't take this term literally, but what I call a mental depression is you temporarily feel down, like mentally, right? You can't think of happy things, right? But the mind is very vibrant. You can now think of murder, you can now think of something good, you can now think of vengeance again, and in one whole minute you can think of 20 things. But your emotions, when they settle down, when you start feeling something bad or good, they take a certain while till, until they will change, till you can feel something different. Like with depression. Depression means something within you is purifying itself, it is being removed. Old wounds, things are surfacing. And, well, these bozos are telling you to ignore those. Well, keep ignoring those. You're just going to make them stronger. And your depression will also increase likewise. When you're trying to beat your ego, you're doing nothing else than laughing at yourself. You're making a laughing stock of yourself, but no one's going to tell you that. Hopefully you didn't hear this at me first, because, well, probably that will make me one of the few people who will actually tell you this. And that will make me probably one of the few wise people who would know how the so-called ego functions truly. Why am I saying this? Is because when you say, okay, I've done this new thing, right? Back in the old days, like yesterday, my older me wouldn't do that, right? So you'll probably even laugh at your older version. But that means you're making fun of yourself. That is only mental entertainment, because yet again you're thinking with every new action mentally that you're having some progress. Mentally you're having some progress. But beating your ego and laughing at your older versions is not going to improve you, because your subconscious mind will remain the same. When you laugh at your older versions, like who you were yesterday, just because you did something new today, it will give you a bad illusion. You will laugh at your older self, but through this, you're focusing on it. Because in order to laugh at something or someone, you have to think of them, right? You can laugh at someone by looking at them. You're still thinking at them. But you can't look at your thoughts because you visually can't see those. So when you laugh at your older self, you're actually strengthening your older self in a way, because you're focusing on it. You're saying, haha, yesterday I was such a loser. But you're focusing on that which you were, on that, especially that which you think you were. And now that you called your older version a loser, you're also adding an extra coating on that, so you're making it stronger. That's why I advise you to take more care when you're dealing with your ego, because you should treat it as a bit holier than your child. Don't disrespect your child, but also take care of your ego. This being said, you're appreciated. Take care. Ferenc Board signing out.